Okay, we're streaming live already on YouTube this evening. It's time to start the Dream Team session for the 25th of July, 2024, as our audience and Dream Team panel join us. So let me press the button to make sure that can happen behind the scenes here. Hi, Astrid, how you doing? Great session just now with the amazing Carolina and Gilda. Looking at which is the right visa for people that they need to move to Portugal. Great session, I thought. And we have Nuno joining us. So let's bring Nuno on first as the other members of the Dream Team panel get comfortable. Nuno shared with us last week his fondness for a certain kind of dance events when I was asking the cultural question about what people's favorite events are here in Portugal. Have you been to anything else and enjoyed yourself just recently, Nuno?
No, actually, I'm in the south of Spain with my in-laws.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
for a week,
Right,
so,
right.
a mix of work and vacation.
Amazing. So I take it you are on holiday officially. And
Yeah.
typically of you and your dedication to the task, you're joining us nonetheless on the Dream Team session.
No, I don't know if it's dedication, but I can't handle with go to the beach and do sunbath.
Oh, really? You're not one of those
No,
people?
no, no, it's not for me.
Okay. That might be our cultural question tonight as a Portuguese person. Do you like being on the beach? Many millions of people come to Portugal to enjoy the beach. Do you like the beach yourself? So we'll come back to you perhaps on that, or there may be another question that comes up this evening. The interesting thing at the moment on the Iberian Peninsula is that Spain is getting a little bit fed up with some tourists, Nuno. Are you getting any sense of that over on that side of the peninsula?
No, not at all.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm in one of the islands near after Ayamonte, so just crossing
Oh,
the
very nice.
border, the Portuguese
Beautiful.
border,
Yeah.
and there are plenty of Portuguese people here every year, so
All right. No
I don't
problem.
feel.
I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, excellent. The same level of hospitality that is extended for foreigners and tourists here in Portugal. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here tonight, Nuno. Any news from the insurance industry?
Well, regarding the insurance industry, no, but I have some numbers, and as you know, I came from management and finance, so it's all about numbers, right?
It's all about the numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that we have some good news. Two of the main hospitals in Lisbon, they finished the waiting lines. They don't have waiting time anymore
Mm,
for cancer treatment. Okay, one of
great.
them is the biggest hospital, Santa Maria. So this is a good news.
Yeah.
Also, in Portugal, during the last 10 years, the number of doctors in Portugal risen 37%. So today we have more than 60,300 doctors spread across the country. On the public system, they risen 25%, and on the private, 50%. Also, consultations risen 40% on the public system and 75% of the private. So this means that yes, we are having more private healthcare rather than public. Every year, the private sector is becoming bigger, but the public system took the big share of the healthcare in Portugal. So this is good news.
Yeah,
Despite
absolutely.
this,
Very
despite
encouraging.
all the pressure and the waiting lines, I think this is good news.
Well done, Portugal. Yeah, going against the odds there and the general trends around the world by the sound of it, Nuno. Great news. Okay. I don't
Yeah,
think Spanish. I
it's
don't think
one
Spanish
of
Wi-Fi
the
is as good as
big.
Portuguese tonight. We're struggling a little bit with your connection. But yeah, go ahead. Try again.
Yeah. I was saying that healthcare in Portugal is one of the main flags that
Mm,
all governments have
yeah.
always.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's part of our DNA.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And the new government, I think, wanting to make an impact as well. That's all helping, although they are going to be on holiday. Or if not already, we'll find out from Daniel how the summer recess works here in Portugal. But a good start, nonetheless, as I think we've observed in previous weeks. Anything else to share with us, Nuno, this evening?
No, nothing by now.
Okay, all right. I just want to ask you one quick question. What are you eating over there in Spain? What's good in just across the border in southern Spain there, just on the other side from Villarreal de Sant Antonio, basically.
Yeah, so the choco frito,
Okay.
it's the kind of squid. I don't know
Yeah.
the name in English, but
Perfect.
choco frito could be the most typical here.
Excellent.
And also gambas al ajillo.
Yeah.
Portuguese people gave variations to this name, but the
Yes.
correct is gambas al ajillo.
Okay, that's great. So the best food in Spain, where you are, is Portuguese. I love it. Fantastic. Louis. Thank you very much for the time being. Let's go to the Queen of the Visas. Already been working hard this evening. Back again for the Dream Team session. Thanks, Gilda, for coming back.
You're welcome.
And good to see you. And I didn't ask you in the last session because really it was about visas, generally speaking, wasn't it? And everything people need to know about the respective visas and how to get to Portugal. I didn't ask you about the industry, about the scene and what's going on more generally in migration. Can you share anything with us about what's happening, how AIM are doing, for example?
Well, everything is pretty stopped. Last week I tried to have a positive view on it, and I told that the appointments were going good, and then on the next day, which was a Friday, our appointments got canceled. So I tried to keep positive, but it's not been easy. But they are recruiting more manpower. So hopefully in September, things will get better.
Very good. Okay. I think what you're signaling there is going to be a lull. And Carolina mentioned this. You know, we're into the last week of July. The 30th and 31st are likely to be a write-off, I think. This is the last working week, isn't it, of this side of summer, and things will really slow down in August, and then things will pick up again in September. Is that basically the idea and what people need to be aware of, Shilda, right now?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Although we work during the months of August, of course,
yeah, sure.
because
I'm not including
we
that.
no, but many companies really close for 1 week or two.
Yes.
But we don't, because we have people getting visas all the time, traveling all the time, and actually it is usually in normal times it is a busy time for us, because everyone wants to come before September for the kids to start school.
Okay. So there'll be a rush and keeping busy at A, also known as EI, as we discussed earlier on.
I saw that you learned something today.
Yes, thank you very much. Finally. So yes, we're keeping working at A, including tax advice. Pedro Franco is here as well from the team. How are you, Pedro?
I'm great, Carl. Thank you.
How's your day been?
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Entering vacation next week.
Oh, good for you. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been really busy these last days, and I have some news, and probably you've seen it on television or on newspapers.
I'm not sure, because normally we like to hear no news from you, because no news is good news in the world of taxation. But what are you going to tell us?
No, in this case, very good news. Because the president has enacted seven diplomas, seven different diplomas and five of them have impact on taxation. So. Very briefly, let me just go through them.
Yeah, please. The impact on your industry and sector. Yeah, perfect.
Yes, but on everyone's pocket living here. So I think it's really, really good. So first of all, it was the reduction in personal income tax. It's between like 1.5% up to 2%, and up to the sixth bracket, up to the sixth tax bracket. Not as the government wanted, because the government wanted up to the eighth, which would include more people that earn a little bit more.
Mhm.
But this was approved. This was proposed by the opposition, not by the government, and
Okay.
the president has enacted it anyway. Also, the decrease in VAT on electricity, an increase in deductions for housing expenses, so for rent, for people who pay rent,
Oh,
they
very
will be
good.
able to deduct more against the final tax collection. Also, the end of the extraordinary contribution for short-term rental businesses. This was a very polemic measure that the previous government had passed. That was they were going to tax seriously short-term rental businesses,
Mhm.
and this has it's the end of this contribution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And also, finally, the abolition of the property transfer tax for young people up to 35 years old. So this is one of those measures that some people are happy and some are not, because they are 36 years old.
Yes, that's right. In politics, you can't please all the
It
people all the
divides
time, can
people,
you?
yeah.
Yeah, they could have done with that last year. But still,
Yeah.
I mean, generally speaking, we welcome that, haven't we? That's been really good for young Portuguese people wanting to
Yeah.
get on the property ladder. So thank you for that. Really helpful. Now, for a foreigner wanting to keep up with that sort of news, obviously they tune into the Dream Team every Thursday night at 9. But how would you keep abreast of that as a foreigner? Kind of hard to get hold of that sort of information, right? If you don't live in the country.
No, it's not. Of course, this is internal. So this is internal regimes, and so no one has access to it unless you are really digging up to
Yeah.
in the news or the laws, or speaking to someone who really knows about it. So
Yeah. Okay. So be here on a Thursday night at 9 o'clock, and we can drill down with Pedro into the finer details of taxation here in Portugal. So thank you for those. Really appreciate that. Thanks, Pedro. Ahead of your break. Excellent stuff. Let's go to, I think Daniel's here as well. We mentioned the president. We like to talk about the president from time to time. So he's keeping busy then, Daniel. Are you?
Hello. Well, extremely busy, fortunately.
Good.
The last few weeks I've been I've been running around all the place, so can't complain in terms of work. But yeah, I do agree with Pedro's assessment. The laws that the president has announced and publicized, they're good in the tax department.
Mhm.
And the one that I would like to emphasize is the the Airbnb law that will remove the extra taxation that was enacted by the old government. So, pardon, this is indeed good news for people that have Airbnbs, and it's a big industry here in Portugal. So it's something to consider. Although it's a big discussion, we know that Airbnb does bring its problems. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in Portugal that have invested a lot of money in doing Airbnbs and tending to tourists in Portugal. So I take it with a good as a good measure. And well, Lisbon and Porto do have their problems with the excess of Airbnbs, but we do have a custom of centralizing everything in the big cities, and treating Lisbon and Porto or the rest of the country as Lisbon and Porto, it's a big error. So in my view, the situation should be differentiated. Places that have big pressure of Airbnb should indeed be taxed more, and places that don't have a lot of pressure from Airbnb, the taxation should be less. But this is my take on the situation. It's not where the law is, but at least I do see this reduction in taxation on the AL situation on the Airbnb as a good thing.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Daniel, for that. And this is the summer recess now. We're into that, are we, with the politicians? And that brings on the silly season in the news. Okay.
We will not expect any development from politicians, from the president. It won't happen anything in the country in the next month, apart from funny pictures of politicians in the beach in shorts. So stay tuned for that.
I was about to say, so if you do want to see the president swimming in Cascais, now's the time to do that.
Indeed. You'll see a lot of people taking selfies. Marcelo, the president, will be taking selfies with his constituents. So it's a fun time to be around.
and looking for damsels in distress to rescue from the water, which I think he did last year or the year before. What a legend. Fantastic. All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Any other law news or industry news, or is that it for the time being?
Not that that I'm aware of. So it's
Right.
it was just these final laws that President publicized, and we're not expecting any future things to be publicized in the meantime. So until
Right.
September, no news is what's expected.
Fantastic. We will get to the questions soon. I think Bianca was quite keen to ask her a question, so you can unmute to do that or pop it in the chat if you want to do that, Bianca, and we'll come back to you in just a moment. And thank you for your keenness. Appreciate it. We've got to check in quickly, though, with Jean-Claude from Greenback first. These are the folks who can help you stateside with your filing. How are you doing this evening, Jean-Claude?
Very well, thank you. I hope everybody else is doing very well.
Well, it's a fine evening. It's a beautiful, balmy evening here on the Silver Coast, certainly, and we have been on a weather alert for warm weather. So yes, we're doing okay. Thank you, Jean-Claude. How about you? Where are you, if may I ask?
So, much like our clientele as an expats professional, we're located all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to you from very sunny South Africa.
Oh, very nice. Excellent stuff. Okay. And what can you tell us this evening? You were helping people with extensions. I'm guessing that's over now.
Yeah, so as we've passed the real last deadline for expats, mid and to the end of June, we're really coming into a place. It's a very funny place to be, actually, because it's 2023 tax return is officially a delinquent return now, which puts it into the category as part of the streamlined filing service. For those who don't know, it's an amnesty program that the IRS offers for people that haven't caught up with their taxes in more than 3 years. So
it all sounds terrifying. Delinquent, you say?
Yeah, well, official term. In the gist of it, we make it a very simple and very painless process, getting caught up and back into compliancy with the IRS.
Okay.
So yeah, if anybody is out of date for a few years and they're scared of getting caught up, please reach out. Email address is above my head.
Yes.
We can get you caught up with 2023 included into an amnesty penalty-free return.
That's good to know. So for people who just are burying their head in the sand, basically, which, let's face it, it does happen, doesn't it? Kind of out of sight, out of mind. If you've left the country and so on, this is a really good way of getting up to date and getting that bad feeling dispatched and away. Did you say without penalties you can negotiate? Can you?
Yeah, so the amnesty program is offered by the IRS because of the sheer amounts of expats that are delinquent and delinquent by many years. So they'd much rather have those people come forward and get back up to date rather than threatening and chasing people with penalties for late returns.
Of course, that's amazing. And obviously, without giving anything confidential away, I mean, how long can it be? And what are the worst sort of cases you've helped people with?
So we've helped people that are delinquent 3 years, but also people that have been delinquent for 9, 10 to 15 years, really.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's very much it's voluntary, and it's all about coming forward and just having that declaration of non-willful neglect.
Yes.
That we of course help them with to submit
Very
to the
good.
IRS.
All right, good to know. That's great to have you here, Jean-Claude. Any questions about filing in the United States? As you can see, the strapline there, never worry again if your US expat taxes are done right there with Greenback Expat Tax Services. Find them and everybody else here on the Dream Team in the Expats Portugal Business Directory. We're a little light on questions this evening. We've got some very nice comments, though. Jen is making the comment, no one ever talks about northwestern Spain. Does anyone go there to visit? Absolutely. And those lucky enough to live in the north of Portugal, up in the Gerês, Peneda Gerês, can pop across very easily into Spain as well, into the area I think you're talking about, which is very special. Not so busy and well visited as the south of Spain, of course, but nonetheless, very, very beautiful, just as the north of Portugal is. I'm an appointment to 2nd of September after systems went down last time. Sorry to hear about that, Andrew. Only 4 hours away in Beja. So maybe you can go and visit northwestern Spain while you're up that way as well. No. Beja, that you can pop across to central Spain, can't you, from Beja, I think, rather than northern Spain there. Beautiful places, Andrew, responding to your location, Jean-Claude and Denise as well. Good to see you here, Denise. A piece of paradise. I live on the edge of the cliff above the ocean. Fantastic. Good evening to you, Peder. Thanks for joining us here as well on the Dream Team session, as well as the earlier webinar. Gilda, says Tom Smith, I suspect Ima got caught up in the Windows. Ah, yes, of course. This was big news last week, wasn't it? We've moved on. I mean, there's so much going on in the world right now. This was last week's drama. Did Ima get caught up in the Windows system crash last Friday? At least they aren't Delta Airlines, which was dealing with problems with it until yesterday. Are they getting rid of the tolls on the Scut roads in January? So there's two questions there. First of all, Gilda, how were the systems of migration affected by the Windows outage last week?
I cannot really tell because they are affected all the time. So I don't know
What a
if
brilliant
it was
answer.
because
Okay, they had a new
of the
excuse.
Windows system or
Right.
the normal system that is cracking all the time.
Okay, all right. So no discernible difference, even with the best excuse that's come along for a long time. And the toll roads, that was a bit of a political football. We might go to Daniel for this, and lobbying for toll roads and excessive or high costs anyway for toll roads. That's what the SCUT means, I think, Daniel. Has there been a change there? Oh, and Pedro wants to chip in with that as well. What do you make of it, Daniel?
Well, I do agree that those roads should have the tolls removed. Just because the scoots are in the interior of the country or in Algarve, in places where you really don't have any alternatives.
Right.
Because especially in Algarve, someone that wants to cross the Algarve from one end to the other, using the 125 is not an option because it's simply a really bad road. It takes too long. So if you don't have a decent alternative, just charging for a toll road, especially without any toll booths and with you needing to go to the post office and pay the tolls and creating a lot of havoc, it simply doesn't work. So in terms of the cohesion of of Portugal, I don't think that those should be paid roads, especially because they were built with EU subsidies.
Yes.
But there's always a but. The measure was put forward by the opposition in Portugal, the guys that were in power for the last 8 years. And the thing is, if they wanted to remove the scoots at the time, they should have done it at that time, not when they are in the opposition. And this will mess up the budget for the next government. So I do agree with it. I think that they should be removed, but it created a political conundrum that the opposition party is affecting things that will be or that should be considered in the budget. So it's not a clear-cut situation how it will end, but in thesis, I do agree with the measure.
Excellent. Okay, and could you just clarify, the scoots is that a particular geographical thing or is it a particular type of toll road?
Well, scoots, it means the translation is highways without costs for the user. As incredible as it sounds.
Yes, there's a big irony right there.
Yeah. In the beginning, they were made to be free for everyone to use them. But then we had the crisis, one of the crises, and they've inserted the toll roads in those roads.
Yes.
And nowadays they're trying to remove those toll roads again, or those toll booths again. But it's basically difficult because the contracts, well, they were made by clever lawyers for sure, and it's difficult for the private investors, or basically the government will need to compensate the private investors that develop the roads in terms of costs, and not only costs, but people expected to pass on the roads. Yes. So if the cars that are passing the roads are below a certain level, the government needs to chip in. If they remove the tolls, the government needs to chip in. Basically, the government will always need to pay, and the private will always be subsidized. So this is a capitalist or not so capitalist measure, and I would like to have an investment like this without any type of risk.
Well, yes.
I know where I can put my money, because if this is the case, I'll put it for sure.
That was my next question.
Yeah. You were saying, I'm sorry?
No, that was going to be my next question. How do you get involved in this
Yes,
excellent?
it's a lovely industry. You just put the money, it's a risk-free endeavor, and that
Yes.
you'll always have a guaranteed return. So this is not capitalism working as it should. This is probably something more connected with cronism, or yeah. So
Allegedly. Okay.
remove
Very good.
the toll roads. It's not fair for people that live in the interior of the country. They have less access to hospitals. They have less access to everything.
Yes.
And the interior of the country needs to have population.
Yes.
And removing the toll roads, it's indeed a measure that will have cohesion to the country, or assist
And
cohesion.
in a crisis, as you mentioned, very unfair to penalise people living in those places, and not a very good way to stimulate the economy by
Yes.
penalising people in that way. Thanks,
And
Daniel. Great insight.
just something to add. I have one of my cars, the older one, doesn't have the Via Verde. And sometimes I do pass on those roads and I do forget to pay the toll roads, and then it's a fine. And the fines go directly to the tax authorities, and the tax authorities do enforce the payment of those fines. So it's not a fair system. It's not a fair system.
Right. Okay. And yeah, if you do remember, you can pop into a post office with your registration number. But as you say, it's a bit of a faff. There is also a way of looking online, isn't there? But it's like it can quickly become out of sight, out of mind. Sometimes
It's not available straight away. For me, I need to pay things straight away. If I don't pay in the next 24 hours or 48 hours, I tend to forget. So, and
Understood.
it's actually not available straight away. So it's not a fair system.
It's not fair, that, is it? You pop into the post office with the best of intentions. There was nothing to pay. And yes, okay. And then it might turn up a little bit later when somebody has walked from that toll road to the post office to tell them the new information. Okay. Thanks, Daniel. Pedro, did you want to add anything to that? I think Daniel's covered it pretty well there.
Oh, Daniel completely covered it. It's my view also. It's like his, yes.
Yep, very good. Okay, thanks, Pedro. The now for Gilda, can you tell us a bit about the requirements for residency through Article 90? Now, this didn't come up in our last hour. We had a great webinar. Carolina presented with some input from Gilda. That'll be on our YouTube channel from early on Sunday evening, this coming Sunday. So you can find out generally about visas. But Article 90 didn't come up as far as I remember. I'm looking at that as a backup plan if I don't get my D2 visa in the next 3 months. What is Article 90, Gilda?
Well, actually, Carolina mentioned it, but it was very superficial, in a very superficial way. So the Article 90, number 2, is an article that allows a highly qualified professional to come to Portugal as a tourist and apply for a residency permit without a visa. However, there are some requirements. This person needs to have a master's degree and needs to have more than 2 years experience on the role that they are going to have in the company,
right?
And on their job description, or they need to prove that they have already 5 years of experience.
Okay.
This is one of the criteria. The other one is that it needs to be a profession that is considered highly qualified, and the minimum wage is 1,250 if the company issues a tech visa term for the process. If you are working for a company that doesn't have a tech visa term to issue for you, your salary needs to be at least 1,450 euros. Plus the other requirements. You need to bring all your diplomas, duly apostilled, and your CV, and the proof that you have been working on that role before.
Okay, great. Thank you. And do you think that's a good strategy as a backup plan if the D2 doesn't come in?
Well, it can be if you already have a company that is willing to hire you, but I have to alert you that we are not having any vacancies for this type of article. I should say in a year now.
Wow. Okay. And the Nano, adding to that, I have a Universal LDA. Can I hire myself? The Nano always has some really brilliant lateral thinking going on with this, right? What do you make of that?
Well, we have done some processes in that way, but even though you need to be careful because your salary cannot be the minimum wage, it needs to be, in that case, at least 1,450, and you need to show that you provide the type of services that is considered a highly qualified profession, and you need to prove that you already have contracts from your company with other firms.
Okay.
Or yeah,
All right.
that you are
Thanks, Gilda.
providing these services.
Okay, there you go, the Nano. Thanks, Gilda, for that. There was a request for closed.
But one thing, if I were you, I wouldn't do this with Unipessoal. I would apply with as a self-employed person with the contracts that you can show outside of Portugal.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much for that. In that case, you're automatically self-employed, says Nuno there, adding a comment to that. Thank you, the Nano. Thank you, Gilda, for a very thorough answer. And there was a request we received about closed captioning or subtitling on the video of the Dream Team or the live streaming of the Dream Team session. It looks like we're speaking Dutch tonight, Gilda, you and I, or we're changing languages from time to time. I think that there's probably somebody trying to work that out behind the scenes. So we're doing our best for you, so that you are getting some subtitling and closed captioning over at YouTube. But I'm pretty sure I'm not talking in German this evening. Okay, something slipped something in my drink earlier on. Okay. Let's go to YouTube and make sure, by the way, Expats Portugal members, to use your benefit of being in the chat here on Zoom to ask questions of the marvelous Dream Team here tonight. Oh, Bianca's done that. Great to have your first question, Bianca. How do you pay the toll roads if you're visiting as a tourist? Nuno, would that be one for you? I mean, I guess you probably all know how to deal with that in some way. But Nuno, as the man who we associate with motor insurance, what do you recommend to tourists coming over and using the toll roads? To pay at the toll booth?
Well, it depends. If you rent a car in Portugal, so rent a car with a device, and then the rent-a-car company will charge you regarding the tolls.
Yes.
Yeah, but they charge a lot.
So who's that?
They charge a lot when you do that, no?
No.
That's not been my experience, Casablanca.
No, they only charge for the cost of the toll.
Yeah, and pass that on to you and deduct that from your credit card when the time comes.
Yes, they charge you for an amount, because when we have this device, we need to pay a fee yearly, usually. So they charge you for an amount. I don't know how much, but maybe 25 euros. Okay,
That's
plus
good.
the tolls. So nothing much in this.
Yeah, you're paying to rent the transponder, aren't you? The little unit that goes in the window, but they're not going to make extra money on top of that.
Correct.
And you can pay at the booth, can't you, if you don't want to take the transponder? The more difficult scenario is the one Daniel mentioned, which is when you go through an overhead toll and it registers your car, but you don't know you've done that necessarily, and then you don't know where to pay it. So what do you recommend in that instance, Nuno?
Okay, so just some clarification that I know through my Spanish friends that when they use their cars on these highways or scoots, of course they didn't have the device, they didn't pay. So a month later, they receive a letter from Brisa or Estradas de Portugal requesting for the payment.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Which
Okay.
your rental car company would do if you'd rented a car. Yeah.
No. This is for people that use their own cars.
Oh, okay. Right.
Renting a car. This is a scenario a second scenario. Okay, so I know that this is settled, but I don't know if it's only for EU countries
Yes.
or other countries also. So
Yeah.
this I don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Regarding any other option, like bring your car, drive your car, I don't know if you need to attend to any office of Via Verde to solve this. I really don't know.
mhm.
Really don't know.
Yeah, and there is that time lag, as Daniel mentions, because you can just go into a post office with a registration number. You don't have to prove you're the owner of the vehicle. You don't have to say who you are. If you just would like to pay the fees of that vehicle, the post office will let you do that, but it doesn't show up right away. I think that might be the best we can do for you, Bianca, and the Blanco household. There was anything else you wanted to know?
Yes.
Ask you.
You will know by any chance, we're going to be in Portugal next month, and to see like maybe a lawyer about immigration, to see, you know, the new rules and stuff like that, if we want to immigrate over there.
Yep.
Coming from the US.
Yes. Can you see Gilda pointing to herself? She is the ideal person in her company, other people to speak to. And you'll get an overview from the webinar that we just had in the last couple of hours, which will be published on our YouTube channel this coming Sunday. So you'll find Gilda in the Expats Portugal business directory.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ciao for now, bye for now, and let's go to other questions that have just miraculously turned up in the Zoom chat after my little prompt here. Thank you very much for your help, Diana B. Yeah, I think closed captions, that's a user choice, isn't it? So that's probably what's going on there. Thank you, Laronda, for your extra commentary on that as well. My wife and I will be retiring at the end of 2026. What could we be doing now to plan? I think it's the same answer as the last question. What could we be doing now to plan? We will be visiting Porto and Lisboa at the end of August. Maybe we could find a meetup. Yeah, and they could pop in and see you, right, Gilda?
Yes, of course. I invite you to, if you are in Portugal, to come to our office in Lisbon or Porto and to meet me or someone from my team, so that we can talk a little bit about Portugal. What do you pretend to do? When do you pretend to come? If you pretend to come, hopefully yes, because this is a wonderful country. And we can talk about it, the process, the implications, the costs, everything. So
And,
just drop us an email.
Oh, we will know where she is.
She had me.
Okay, thank you very much. That's for the Millers, but also for the Blancos there as well. Okay, let's move on and go to Tom. Thanks, Gilda, for that. And as I'll reiterate, find Gilda and all the members of the Dream Team panel on the Expats Portugal Business Directory. And as Expats Portugal members, you'll be able to find them and often get a discount or a perk or a benefit of some kind of working with Dream Team professionals here. Tom Smith, I'm happy they're talking about extending the Metro Sul do Tejo to Casta de Caparica, beg your pardon, and Trafaria. It is supposed to be in 5 to 7 years. I've not heard about this, which is perfect for Tom anyway. I like having the beach on one side of town and the cliffs on the other. Who knows about this? Gilda, have there always been plans to run the metro through or underneath the river?
Sorry, I'm not aware of those plans. I don't know if Daniel can help.
Tom, where did you... He's reading this in Ohio, in America, about our metro plans here. How would he know about this? Daniel,
just wait for the elections. They will announce that they'll start the construction work in the next year, and then
Yes.
it will happen, and then wait for the next elections. That has occurred to me in the place where I live in Lourdes. They've
Yes.
promised to build the metro for quite a long time now, and it was supposed to start last year, and we're still waiting. The first stone was not even laid out, so
Okay.
I'll see it, or I'll believe it when I'll see it, and it's the exact same thing for the metro in the south part of Lisbon, or in Margem Sul, as we call it.
Yes.
I don't think that's going to be that fast. 7 years is well, it would be dreamy, to be honest.
Okay, so there you go, Tom.
But
of
sorry, but
paper
if
rattling.
you are in Lisbon, you can always take the boat
Yes,
and then the bus to Costa da Caparica, or
yes.
you can take the train, the one that goes
Portuguese.
under the bridge.
I
Yeah,
love that train so
that
much.
train is amazing.
Yes, yes.
It's fast, it's clean, it has air conditioner, and you have a wonderful view.
Yes.
So you are already close to the beach if you want to come to
Absolutely.
Lisbon.
And the Lisboetas, they look at their phones and their books and their newspapers as they're crossing that bridge while I'm screaming out to them, look out of this window. It's the most beautiful view ever. But I guess they get to see it every day. Excellent. Thanks, Tom, for that. But I think it's just a bit of political posturing, possibly. But it would be interesting to know where you heard that. Fertagos, that's right. Thank you, Matthew B, for that. I used to love traveling on that train. Let's go over to YouTube now and take a look at what's happening over there. Loads, as it turns out. Alan, good evening to you. Allah from Massachusetts. Forget the beach. Yeah, going back to the earlier question of are you a beach person or do you like to keep active when you're on holiday? Golf and Alcatraz is why I'm coming back, says Alan. Good to hear you tonight, Alan. I understand healthcare is important, but has anyone seen a gluten-free pastel de nata? That's Gilda. I'm going to go to Gilda on this. No, people are waiting. No, is that like you forbid it?
No, and it
Right.
doesn't sound good to me.
Right, okay. All
It
right.
doesn't sound like a good combination.
But
Just forget the gluten for one day and have it.
okay, and end up in casualty. No, I think I'm not sure we can give that advice, Gilda. Just like forget
Of
about the
course
gluten
we can.
for one day. But okay.
It's like
but,
when you are not allowed to drink, but you drink one day. What's
Uh,
the worst that you can have?
do not listen to this lady for this particular part of the Dream Team session tonight. I'm just going to step in there. And I'm also going to urge you to take health insurance should you take Gilda's advice and have a gluten-laden pastel de nata if you're gluten intolerant. I think there are options, Gilda, and I'm not going to ask you if I can get a vegan one because you're going to get us even more trouble if I ask you that.
No, listen, I don't have nothing against gluten-free products or vegan products. I even like them.
Right.
But pastel de nata is a pastel de nata. You cannot
go
change
there.
the recipe. It has hundreds of years. You
Right.
cannot change that.
Okay. And is your advice the same with a bifana? Like you can't.
If you're a vegan,
Yes. Okay.
it's like going to Porto and having a vegetarian francesinha. Come on, you can call it whatever you want, but it's not a francesinha.
Alan, I will find you a gluten-free pastel de nata, a vegan one. These things are available, except to hardliners like Gilda. Okay, Gilda, thank you for that. Nubian Alan Martin.
I feel that I'm going to gain some enemies tonight.
It's possible. That's why I'm moving on. Although Nubian is not letting us do that. Save those calories for the wine. Okay, that is good advice, and we can change the subject. That's what I did. I lost
Wine and pastéis de nata are actually a good combination, so you can have both.
She's not letting it go. You can lick the custard out and then fill it up with wine. That's what I did. I lost weight drinking all the wine. That doesn't seem to happen for those drinking the wine and eating the pastries. Excellent, Nubinette. Good to see you here tonight. Glad to help. And lol, great advice, says Alan over there. My Italian therapy. Gina Fiore is back. Taxes, not good for us old people coming from the US. No more breaks on Social Security, passive income or investment. So Gina, not entirely happy about that. That's more of a comment than a question. Alan is trying to understand when to take money out of the US 401k. I pay taxes, so I also have to pay Portuguese taxes on that as well. Question mark. I thought we had an agreement with the US on the double taxation. Please, I mean, this has been awkward with the pastel de nata. Can you give him some better news on his 401k, Pedro?
Yes, the 401k is if you distribute, it's also taxable in Portugal. But if you convert it into a monthly payment, like an annuity with constant monthly payments, it will only be taxed at 10% here in Portugal, which is quite good. So, and you can deduct the tax that you paid that was paid on the source, so you can offset that tax also. So
great, much better news than the pastel de nata for you, Alan. There, Let's stay with you, Pedro, because Gina is picking up on this situation with taxes, as continuing from her earlier comment. Do I wait to close on my US property in US before applying for a Portuguese visa, so not to pay capital gains tax? I guess that's a question that comes up at the water cooler when Gilda's team meet you there, Pedro, to ask this question. So as not to pay capital gains tax in Portugal, or do I not pay if after the first year? So how would you handle that?
Did I understand well? Is it from the house, the real estate?
I think so, yeah. Let me just read that again then. Do I wait to close on my US property, yeah, before applying for a Portuguese visa, so not to pay capital gains to Portugal?
Okay, so first I would like to point out that applying for the visa does not make you a tax resident, and it's only relevant to you only pay taxes if you are tax resident in Portugal. So you can apply for the visa, and you can change. So you can get resident afterwards when you are here for more than 6 months, or if you buy a house and you intend to stay here for a long time, for like a permanent house. So those two situations trigger the tax residency,
Okay.
not the visa.
Great,
But
thanks.
regarding the second issue is the capital gain. The capital gain is also taxable in Portugal, even though it's from US source. So it will be taxed in both sides. But you can get a tax relief from the tax liability in Portugal. You can offset with the tax paid in the US.
Right.
My advice is that because in the US, I think if it's your permanent house, there is a threshold of 500,000 euros of exemption. You don't pay any taxes if your capital gain is below that threshold.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So my advice would be that if you are planning on selling the house, my advice would be that you sell the house first and then become tax resident in Portugal. It can be the day before you become a tax resident. So
Great. Okay, thanks, Pedro. I hope that helps you there, Gina. Good news. Sammy, good evening to you over at YouTube. And I was there, the Concert Chronicles. That sounds like an interesting YouTube channel. Tell us more. If we had our CEF biometric appointment last November, Gilda, when do you think our temporary visas will be issued? Would you care to guess at that? We know it's beyond your control, but from your experience?
Where was the appointment?
Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? I'm guessing in the US, but Concert Chronicles, if you could let us know more. And thank you for your kind.
In the consulate in November.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, if we
I
had
need to know.
CEF...
I need to know the consulate and the type of visa.
Okay, let us know that, Concert Chronicles, and thank you for your feedback. Great info last week on getting our pets to Portugal. That was a great webinar, really good with global pets. Harry Liu over on YouTube. Are Canadian RRSPs and other tax deferred accounts like 401ks, those again, in the United States exempt from taxes till the funds are removed and recognized as income still tax exempt in Portugal? I made a bit of a mess of that, Pedro, but I'm guessing you got the gist of that.
can you repeat, please, Carl?
Yeah, our Canadian RRSPs, and I think John Claude is popping in with this one as well. Are Canadian RRSPs and other tax deferred accounts like 401ks in the United States exempt from taxes till the funds are removed and recognized as income, are still tax exempt in Portugal? ?
They are tax exempt until the moment the money is withdrawn.
Right. Okay.
It's tax deferred, and when you withdraw, when you start to distribute the money from those plans, it's income at that moment only, and it's taxable in Portugal.
Excellent. Thank you, Pedro. Do you want to add something to that, Jean-Claude? I think it might be from an earlier point.
Yeah, sorry, I was just commenting on US capital gains tax prior to the move to Portugal as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And you said that in the US, you can sell your primary residence and be exempt from capital gains taxes on the first $250,000. And as Pedro said there, if you are single, $500,000 if married, filing jointly. This exemption is only allowable once every 2 years. So thank you for that additional information there. Let's stay with capital gains. Thanks, Jean-Claude. As a non-tax resident, will we owe Portuguese capital gains when we sell our apartment in Portugal, and also US capital gains on the same Portuguese property? If we stay with you, Jean-Claude, as you're on the screen, you sell somewhere in Portugal, what's the US capital gains situation?
So capital gains tax follows a very close second to FEIE, I believe, or foreign tax credit. So I believe as they are tax residents in Portugal, their primary tax obligation on capital gains, Pedro, if you would just correct me there, would be to the Portuguese revenue services, which is then offsettable to your US taxes.
Yes, I agree, but they mentioned that they are non-tax resident in Portugal. So I think Jean-Claude, you can enlighten if he's just tax resident in the US.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch that part. Yeah, so no, you will obviously then have a level of tax or capital gain tax obligation. The percentile of that obviously being dependent on your filing status, single, married, filing jointly or separately, and then what you've already contributed, whether it be foreign income exclusion or foreign tax credits. But I'd be more than happy for them to reach out on help at Greenback, and we can take a deeper look into that.
Fantastic. Excellent stuff. Thanks, Jay, for that question, and great teamwork there on the Dream Team session tonight.
Carol, can I just, regarding the Portuguese part, because
yes, definitely.
still missing, yes. So as a non-resident in Portugal, the taxation has changed last year. So you will pay taxes on the capital gain. In the past, you already used to pay, but now the way that you are taxed is that you have to indicate what is your income in US as not all the income, but only the income from work-related income, for example. And you have to indicate that, and we calculate the tax considering your income and the capital gain. But then we make the same exemption that we make to Portuguese residents, which is we only tax 50%, half of the capital gain, which is a good exclusion. So in the end, the tax rate is not so high.
Right. Thank you, Pedro and Jean-Claude. There was capital gains seems to be the theme of the evening. Jay Santos over on YouTube. Hello, team. If I have a rental property in Portugal, then live in it a few years later, will that trigger capital gains? So I guess that's a property that's being let out to someone else. Then you return to Portugal. Would that scenario trigger capital gains? Is there enough information there, Pedro, to answer that?
I'm not sure if he's talking about if you exit, if you are not resident anymore, but if you keep the house,
yes,
there are no capital gains arising from that because there are no sales proceeds.
All right, let us know with that, Jay Santos. Thank you.
I'm not sure if that was the information.
No, fair enough. But thanks for that answer anyway. Jay Santos also being helpful earlier on. I always get to Via Verde toll module with the car rentals. Otherwise, it's a headache to pay. It's only a couple of euros per day going back to the Blanco household there. We've only got a few minutes left now. I don't think we'll have time for our cultural question. I want to squeeze in as many questions as possible so we can be helpful to you this evening. Gilda, me again, says Shanna, any news on the pace of citizenship applications? I guess Daniel might pick that up too. Is it still 2 or more years? Thank you. Gilda, are you waiting for Daniel to take that?
Yes, I was waiting for Daniel, but yes, it is the waiting time. It's still between 2 to 3 years.
Right. Okay.
I do check and vouch on that. It's a minimum 24 months, but we are experiencing more towards the 3 years than the 2 years. It's a long process. Now lawyers are submitting the process online, and we think that it's speeding the process a little bit up because we are the ones scanning the documents and submitting the paperwork in a web portal that is just for lawyers to use. So it's interesting. It allows the registry to save some time, and I think that this will add up, and the processing time will speed up. But yeah, we're not seeing big improvements at the moment. This was launched about I would say 8 or 10 months ago. So we still need to have some time to get to that. What we are doing for some of our clients is once we have the final approval, but we're waiting for the issuance of for the birth certificate to be sent. We are issuing the birth certificate on our own, and then the client can save 4 months on this with this little trick. But yeah, it doesn't save more than that, and the waiting time is quite substantial. But then you got the Portuguese passport, so it's the advantage at the end of that big process.
There you go, Shanna. Thank you both, Gilda and Daniel there. I was mortified to realize that I hadn't included Ben tonight in the introductions earlier on. So forgive me, Ben. Really sorry to have done that. Thank you for being here tonight. And I want to ask you, of
I
course,
understand why, because he looks like a tourist.
Ben, would you care to? I hope he's not a gluten intolerant as well, because he'll feel doubly insulted perhaps this
No,
evening.
it's not insulted. It's
Okay.
actually it is a good thing. You know, he looks like suntan, you know, like
Right. Oh,
doesn't
okay.
have the usual background. That's why you missed him.
Ben, good evening to you. And I think we need you unmuted there. Sorry, and after all this time as well, forgive me.
Sorry about that.
Not at all. No, how are you this evening?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. Yeah, no suntan here, I can assure you.
There you go, Gilda. And I won't ask you about your gluten
It's
status.
the light then.
All right, okay. Ben, I mean, these are crazy times politically, certainly in the United States. What's going on? Is this affecting currency right now? Does it have an immediate impact?
I mean, it's quite steady on the political front, really, considering everything that's happened. It's quite surprising how little it has moved. I think everything's more geared Federal Reserve interest rate announcement next week.
Yes.
There's been a bit of growing speculation that the Fed might cut interest rates next week.
Yes.
I don't personally think so. I think they're going to do it in September at the earliest, but that is going to be the key factor. So don't expect a lot of movement on the currency side until at least next kind of Wednesday, ultimately.
So given that people might be feeling a little bit jittery when it comes to fluctuations, what sort of mitigations can you offer at Spartan FX to make that a little easier? Because it can be quite stressful, right? Watching it go up and down or just thinking it's going to.
Absolutely. And I mean, you see kind of movements of 3% in a month at the moment, which is obviously quite significant when you're looking at high volume transfers. One of the key factors that we're seeing a lot more clients use at the moment is forward contracts, where you can break now for up to a year, take advantage of where the rates are now, so you can kind of lock in the exchange rate. You pay a 10% holding deposit, and that guarantees you the level. So obviously, as you've correctly touched on, so much political uncertainty. I mean, for me, I mean, I don't want to get too much into my political views, but I think Trump probably will win this election. That there is a lot of speculation that will be dollar positive, but if it goes the other way, if it comes out with quite a lot of negative sentiment surrounding that election, then you could quite see the dollar weaken. So a lot of clients are kind of jumping in, fixing the exchange rate now, so they know that their dollars are going to buy X amount of euros, and it's just kind of a safe way of doing things.
My goodness. Okay. So if you know what you want, if you've got an idea of what you'd be happy with, you can create some stability and safety for yourself with a forward contract.
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not a gambler personally. I mean, if I was buying property in the UK, I want to know it's going to cost me X amount in that local currency. And that's what that does. That's what the forward contracts allows, really, because obviously 6 months down the line, who knows what this world's going to look like. So,
well, yes. Oh my goodness. Exciting times in the Spartan FX office. And that's that you should get in touch with it. And you can open a free account and start that sort of conversation to help people with such stresses.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Ben. Sorry for not seeing you earlier on this evening. And I think you can take it as a compliment that you're looking nice and relaxed and tanned, even if you're not.
I will.
this evening. Diana, thank you, Diana, for this. Caution, if you're an expat US citizen or legal resident and you decide to renounce your citizenship, we've not talked about this very much. You may be subject to deemed capital gains, even without selling your property. And you've even got the reference for us there, Diana. That's amazing. While this would appear to apply mostly to wealthier individuals with significant built-in gains, the IRS is stepping up its audit activities for those situations. It's essentially an exit tax. Thank you for that, Diana. Do you want to add anything to that, Jean-Claude? Have we still got Jean-Claude with us there?
Sorry, yeah. No, very much so. Diana's hits it right on the nose. Not too much to put there. As she said, it is for wealthier. The exit tax provision under IRC Section 877A can have substantial financial implications for US citizens and long-term residents renouncing their citizenship.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Diana and Jean-Claude there. And Gina, thank you, Pedro. It did answer my question. Planning on applying for residency now, right after closing my house. That's great. I think we've got to most people's questions this evening. Thank you to the entire Dream team. It was a busy one tonight, my goodness. Even though things are winding down for the month of August, a very busy night here. Thank you all. Thank you especially to you, Nuna, for joining us from Spain, whilst you're meant to be having a bit of a break over there. Over to you, Astrid. What's coming up?
Thanks, Carl. For those of you who are here in Portugal already, this Saturday we've got our Tamar in-person meetup happening at 4 until 7. Details are on the calendar on the website on expatsportugal.com. The curry dinner afterwards has booked out though, so if you want to come along to the afternoon session, you're still more than welcome. But unfortunately, all seats are taken for the dinner.
Be quicker in future, right? Be quicker to respond in the future if you want to be.
Yeah. Well, we've already booked out the whole restaurant, so I'm taking it to full capacity, so it should be fun.
Did you book me, Astrid?
Yes, Gilda, you're fine.
And gluten-free curry for Gilda, okay? Sure.
Next week, we are talking about tax-efficient tips and financial planning here in Portugal. And then we have the Dream Team session at 9 o'clock afterwards as well. So please come along and join us. It's a little bit quieter throughout August, so more likely you'll get your questions answered. So come and join us.
All right. Thanks, team from Jay Santos. Thanks, Astrid, there as well. LaRonda, thanks, everyone. Great as usual. Thanks, everyone from Tom Smith and Pedro. Obrigado todos. And expect an Expats Portugal thread over on the forum where you can get a vegetarian francesinha, where you can get a gluten-free pastel de nata, and even a vegan one as well. Maybe a special intolerance thread over there where you can still buy delightful Portuguese fare. Thank you very much, everybody. Great session tonight. Have a great rest of the evening, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye for now.